Chelsea are reportedly leaving the race to sign Manuel Ugarte. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yes, the transfer window may not be open officially right now, but in the build-up to the opening, there is already some incredible drama kicking off wherever you look. And one player in particular that is attracting a lot of attention and a lot of drama is one Manuel Ugarte. The Sporting Lisbon midfielder is reporting a lot of attention because he's involved in a bit of a tug of war between Chelsea and PSG right now. Conflicting reports are plenty from the past couple of weeks or so. Well, it appears that last night breaking news dropped on Ugarte's future, and it seems that Chelsea are pulling out of the race to sign him, meaning that it seems that PSG, the French league champions, are in pole position to acquire him in this upcoming transfer window. We're going to be talking all about this big breaking news story, Ugarte, PSG, Chelsea, and everything else in between. But before we go any further, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things always and thoroughly greatly appreciated. And also, I encourage you to get involved in the comment section as well. I'm sure you have a lot of interesting thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on this particular news story, on PSG, on Ugarte, on Chelsea, and everything else in between that will make for great and interesting reading down below in that comment section. So do get involved down there. I encourage you to do so. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Let's talk about the big breaking news that broke last night in regards to Manuel Ugarte and Chelsea, who have seemingly pulled out the race to sign the Uruguayan midfielder. This is incredible drama. That was the statement from Ben Jacobs, who broke the news last night to kick off this tweet and to kick off this breaking news. He took to Twitter last night to go, incredible drama. Chelsea position is they made Manuel Ugarte a competitive offer and higher than some of the numbers reported, but PSG topped it. Chelsea not prepared to go above market value. Fabrizio Romano followed it up, and a lot of other top tier journalists also followed that story up, confirming that kind of news that was coming out last night. Romano stated, Chelsea are set to leave the race for Manuel Ugarte. PSG are favourites to sign him. Chelsea deal was never closed, despite reports on Saturday night. Blues was still negotiating terms. Ugarte was open to Chelsea move as he discussed terms, but PSG have now offered more. As things stand, Chelsea are not willing to pay well above what they consider Ugarte's market rate. PSG are still in talks to finalise deal with Sporting, around 60 million euros fee for Ugarte, wanted by Campos. Reminder, Chelsea always had and still have the name of Moises Caicedo on their list for the summer. Now we'll talk about Moises Caicedo in a little bit because that is very interesting as well. But the overall breaking news last night that came out was that Chelsea had pulled out the race for Manuel Ugarte. Now, does that mean that this deal is done and dusted? Chelsea and PSG have been reportedly in this sort of tug of war, if you like, for the young midfielder for a while. Obviously, there were other teams mentioned, the likes of Liverpool, for example. But Ugarte has seemingly had Chelsea and PSG strongly linked with him ever since then. And like I say, this sort of tug of war has took very conflicting reports wherever you look. Depending on where you look, obviously, there has been reports stating that Chelsea have been very close. He's been signed by Chelsea. PSG have leapfrogged Chelsea in the race. And then, of course, last night it comes out that Chelsea have pulled out of this race. And it seems that it's just a question of money, seemingly, with PSG seemingly willing to go that extra mile to go and offer him more money in terms of clauses and obviously personal terms and everything. Is this smart from Chelsea? Is this the right move by Chelsea? Obviously, what we know of Ugarte is that he's a very tenacious and very industrious midfielder. He's a midfielder that has got a high work rate, has been winning a lot of plaudits due to his high work rate and high tenacity and kind of just his ability to win the ball back, start attacks, his ability to hound and chase down opponents, and basically just ball win, I guess you'd say. a midfielder that would improve Chelsea's midfield, no doubt about it. But is this the right move? Is this Chelsea learning from their past mistakes over the course of this past year? Obviously, we've seen a lot of Chelsea just throwing a lot of money around without a seemingly clear or obvious plan. Is this them learning from those mistakes? Because obviously Chelsea were not prepared to go into a bidding war with PSG. Now, obviously Todd Boehly isn't exactly skint, as is the obvious Qatari owners of PSG. So it could have been an interesting bidding war had it obviously escalated any further. But Chelsea have decided to pull out the race because they're not willing to say it as in Fabrizio's words, go above the market rate. Very intriguing. Like I say, this battle has been very intriguing to sign this player, and now it seems that the gateway is clear for PSG to go ahead and sign him. The 60 million euros release clause, like he mentioned, should be absolutely no problem at all. It wouldn't have been a problem for either side, I wouldn't have imagined. But obviously personal terms became a bit of a stumbling block for Chelsea, who were not prepared to pay him any more than what they felt he deserved. Now, whether that's going to be right or wrong in the future, obviously time will tell. But it is a very interesting move from PSG that they are obviously going to be signing a player of this ability and this quality. Is this a sign of PSG starting to think more work rate wise? They're already losing Lionel Messi. There's talk of Marco Asensio coming in on a free transfer as well, so that could be very intriguing as well. He's going to have to try and fill a Messi-like gap, I guess you'd say, whilst Ugarte is coming in and is going to add more energy into that midfield. And of course, the overall goal for PSG is to try and obviously stake more of a claim and more of a fierce sort of a more fierce sort of stake, should we say, in the Champions League. So that's going to obviously be very intriguing from PSG's point of view in regards to this. For Chelsea, they lose out on a target, but it seems that they're going to bounce back instantaneously. And that obviously instantaneous bounce back or shift of attention, shall we say, is going to come in the form of Moises Caicedo. Now, we're already starting to see momentum once again gather in his direction as to speculation on his career, on his future. The Brighton midfielder, of course, was linked heavily with the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea in January, of course, but he never actually did get that move away from Brighton. He then went on to sign a new contract with Brighton, I think mainly to protect the investment side, or to protect his transfer value for Brighton. Remember, he put out that kind of weird sort of tweet that he was honoured to obviously be to have that kind of price tag on his head at Brighton, and was able to bring them in a huge transfer fee. Well, it's going to be a big transfer fee if obviously Chelsea and Brighton can negotiate very well in that aspect. And of course, him signing a new contract obviously protects that. It's going to be a massive transfer fee. It'll probably be more than what Chelsea would be willing to pay for Ugarte anyway, but I would imagine personal terms would be less of an issue, especially when you haven't got PSG that maybe well, at least in Chelsea's eyes, are willing to go above and beyond to obviously secure those personal terms. Now, does that mean that the Ugarte situation is over and done with? Absolutely not, because whilst it may seem Chelsea are pulling out of the race, obviously, with there being already a lot of twists and turns in this saga already, there could be some more twists and turns later down the line as well. What we are assuming is that PSG have signed, have pretty much signed him. That's what we're assuming. Personal terms, agreed. Transfer fee should be no problem. The release clause obviously aids that. But what if Ugarte doesn't want to go to PSG? What if Ugarte feels like Chelsea's the club for him, Chelsea's the right project for him, and he'll take a pay cut just to go to Chelsea? That could obviously happen. What if PSG look at his medical and go, actually, something doesn't seem right here, we may need to look elsewhere? What if PSG hear news of another player from elsewhere being available that is like a similar position to him, maybe more money than him, and maybe is better money well spent elsewhere? That could also happen as well. There could be a few twists and turns still left in this saga, but it does seem pretty much that PSG have got a clear runway now to signing Manuel Ugarte. Chelsea, it says that they've pulled out, but I guess the money and the contract is still on the table for him. But of course, there are going to be the news on Moises Caicedo and the news on Chelsea shifting their attention to the Brighton midfielder is obviously going to now be snowballing at a much more rapid rate, I guess you'd say, in the coming days. Chelsea obviously looking to strengthen their midfield, and rightfully so. That is an area that desperately needs attention to ASAP. And obviously it makes sense because Caicedo midfielder, Ugarte midfielder, just shifting their attention from one midfielder to the next. So that does make sense there. But it's going to be very intriguing to see what happens with Manuel Ugarte and, of course, what happens with Moises Caicedo going forward, because it's not just Chelsea that were involved with Caicedo, of course. There were a lot of other teams that were interested in Caicedo. Arsenal seems to be a bit preoccupied with Declan Rice right now and the interesting saga that is developing on that one. So whilst they're distracted with that maybe, or seemingly have got their midfield kind of plugged up with that deal and taking a lot of a big chunk of money out of that one, maybe it might leave the door much more open for Chelsea to have a clearer run at Moises Caicedo going forward. But of course, a lot can happen in these transfer stories that going forward might obviously change between here and getting to the end of those sagas. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. Obviously, the transfer window is starting to heat up, and already there is some incredible drama. And like I say, we haven't even got to the point of the window opening as of right now. So if this is what we're getting before the transfer window opens, it's going to be very intriguing to know what's going to happen when the transfer window opens. But Manuel Ugarte is certainly a name to keep an eye on going forward, as is Moises Caicedo. Chelsea as a whole are going to be interesting to keep your eyes on because of the money that they have at their disposal and the kind of way that they've thrown money at stuff in the past. But is this a sign that Chelsea are maybe starting to have second thoughts and maybe starting to put a bit more thought into their transfer business? Obviously not going into battle heavily on with PSG in terms of trying to one-up the other in this kind of personal terms tug-of-war scenario. That's going to be intriguing to find out as well. But yes, do keep your eyes peeled on this Moises Caicedo deal and this Manuel Ugarte deal. That could be very intriguing. These are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of the news of Chelsea seemingly pulling out of the race to sign Manuel Ugarte? I'd love to know, and obviously now shifting their attention to maybe Moises Caicedo of Brighton. I'd love to know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on this particular story down below in the comment section. I'm sure that'll make for interesting reading. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, but both things always and probably greatly appreciated. And also, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I'll see you speak to you all again soon in another video.